Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Ringside Cinema. I am Money Mike, and it's January, and you know what that means. It's Royal Rumble season. Now, in the spirit of the Royal Rumble, I am going to be looking at every Royal Rumble ever and rebooking the winner of each one. Did the WWE get it right? Did they get it wrong? And if so, who should have won that year's Royal Rumble instead? How that would have changed WrestleMania and so much more. But before we get into all that, go ahead, hit that like and subscribe button, as I do produce weekly wrestling content here on this channel. And tomorrow I will be live streaming the first episode of Monday Night Raw for 2026, featuring Braun Breaker versus CM Punk for the World Heavyweight Championship. So you do not want to miss my first live stream of the year tomorrow right here on this channel. So, 1993 Royal Rumble, the original winner was Yokozuna. Now, when I was looking at this Royal Rumble, I thought, should I keep Yokozuna as the winner? Because when you look at the WWE in 1993, Bret Hart was the champion. They were building up they were in need of a top heel to take on Bret Hart. And they were building that in Yokozuna. And it worked. Everything they did with Yokozuna absolutely worked. Okay, we won't talk about WrestleMania 9 and Hulk Hogan, but everything afterwards with Yokozuna squashing Hulk Hogan, King of the Ring, getting his win back, and everything else worked, right? But I thought about it. It would be boring to start this video off with just saying, "Hey, Yokozuna should have just won anyway." No, let's have some fun. Because if I was rebooking this today, I would make Macho Man Randy Savage the winner of this match, the winner of the Royal Rumble in 1993, because it would have been the passing of the torch that Vince wanted from Hulk Hogan. Remember, you gotta remember, 1993, the idea was that Hulk Hogan would win from Yokozuna, WrestleMania 9. He would then go on to basically pass the torch to Bret Hart, but we all know how that turned out. And if there was one guy that would have put over Bret Hart, it would have been the Macho Man Randy Savage. And if you were passing the torch from the golden era of the 80s to the new generation of the 90s with Bret Hart, Randy Savage versus Bret Hart, not only is this a more entertaining match, but I think you could have had Macho Man turn heel. I think this could have been a feud, for Randy, where at that time, Vince just looked at him as a commentator. He was on commentary at WrestleMania 9. So, Vince thought that Savage was done in the ring. He was no longer a wrestler, he was just a commentator. So, this feud here would have at least shown Vince, and working with Bret would have shown Vince, hey, maybe Randy can still go in the ring, which he did later prove in WCW, but maybe this changes things a little bit. Maybe Randy doesn't go to WCW. And I know you're probably wondering, wait a minute, what about WrestleMania 9? What about Hulk Hogan? What about the Lex Express? Yeah, trust me, I will get to all of that, because I realized when I rebooked this Royal Rumble how it impacts the 1994 Royal Rumble and everything that happened after WrestleMania 9. So I covered all that. So in this case, where we have Bret Hart, Randy Savage for the WWF Championship, here's what happens with Yokozuna. Now, if you watch that documentary on Peacock about WrestleMania 9, Hulk Hogan was not a part of the show originally. And they needed Hogan to help boost ticket sales. And he was going for the tag titles against Money Inc. with Brutus Beefcake, right? So, in my alternate timeline here, where Randy Savage, Bret Hart takes place for the WWF Championship, you have Yokozuna go on a rampage for because he lost the Royal Rumble, that he takes out Brutus Beefcake, he injures him, he attacks him, whatever. This would prompt Hogan, because Hogan loved being the hero, saving the day. Hogan would then save Brutus and come and challenge Yokozuna at WrestleMania 9 in a one-on-one match away from the world title. And yes, Hulk Hogan can still win. And then maybe Yokozuna beats Bret Hart at King of the Ring. And because Bret Hart has a longer reign with the title, how does that impact the Lex Express? Because we get to the 1994 Royal Rumble, and you got to remember there was a big, big push to make Lex Luger the next Hulk Hogan. Hogan was gone. He was on his way to WCW in 1994. He was doing movies. Vince needed a new Hogan, and Luger was the guy. And honestly, they had the whole entire thing mapped out. Luger gets the count out victory over Yokozuna at SummerSlam 93. And the big thing was in the whole entire thing was supposed to lead to the coronation of Lex Luger at WrestleMania 10 in 1994. But the fans had a different opinion, because the fans did not take to Lex Luger at that time. And in my alternate timeline, where Bret Hart is still the champion after WrestleMania 9, or he holds it a little bit longer, he loses to Yokozuna, King of the Ring. Maybe the whole Lex Express, maybe since there's more time to develop the story, instead of it being rushed into SummerSlam, the whole thing could lead to maybe Madison Square Garden, the run to WrestleMania, and the whole idea is to have Luger beat Yokozuna at WrestleMania 10. So in this rebook, 1994 co-winners Bret Hart and Lex Luger, because of what I did with the 1993 Royal Rumble, I want to have Lex Luger be the solo winner in this case. Because I think if Bret Hart has a longer run with the championship, I think if there's more time to build Lex, perhaps the fans can get on board with him. Back then, maybe there'll be more support for Luger. But again, if they were still stuck in that scenario where the fans were still split, or they were still preferred Bret, then yeah, you can still do the co-winner thing. But to me, in this timeline, Lex Luger is your winner of the 1994 Royal Rumble. No co-winners, all by himself. 1995 Royal Rumble. This was Shawn Michaels who originally won. Diesel was the WWF champion at the time. To me, we all know the story. Diesel beat Bob Backlund in 1994 in like 10 seconds or whatever it was. Yeah, to me, I would have had Shawn turn heel on Diesel, because I believe the WWE was trying to get Diesel over with the fans, and you have Shawn turn heel. Maybe Shawn beats Diesel for the title at the Royal Rumble. That prompts Diesel to go and enter the Royal Rumble in 1995. Diesel wins the Royal Rumble, challenges Shawn because he wants his revenge, and then Diesel beats Shawn at WrestleMania. I mean, because you look back at that Royal Rumble and it was like Shawn won the Rumble, but he didn't win the title, and it didn't even main event the show. It was Bam Bam Bigelow versus Lawrence Taylor. So it's one of those things where Diesel winning the Rumble in 1995 made a lot more sense for his push at the time. So I think if you would have had Shawn win the title from Diesel earlier in the show, and then Diesel angrily finds his way into the Royal Rumble out of frustration and wins the Rumble, I think you probably would have had a much better formula going into that show with that match. Now, 1996. Because I took away the Rumble win from Shawn Michaels in 1995, 1996 would be his first Royal Rumble win, and it matches with the story of the boyhood dream finally coming true at WrestleMania 12. I am not touching this. Moving on to 1997, Stone Cold Steve Austin won his first of 3 Royal Rumbles. Well, in my timeline here, I'm taking away the 1997 Royal Rumble win, but don't worry, I will give Austin another Rumble win, so he still has 3 Rumble wins in his career. But Austin did not go on to challenge for the WWF Championship at that year's WrestleMania. 1997, WrestleMania 13, we know it was the double turn that we still talk about to this day. Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Bret Hart submission match. And to me, I think you could have easily told the same story here, where Bret Hart eliminates Austin. Austin, the referees still don't see it like we saw in the original timeline. And then Austin comes back and eliminates Bret Hart, but Austin gets eliminated at the end by the new winner in this timeline, and the man who did go on to face the WWF champion. That would be The Undertaker. Because it was The Undertaker who went on to challenge Psycho Sid for the WWF Championship at WrestleMania 13. So in this timeline, why not give him the Royal Rumble win, right? It makes a lot of sense. Stone Cold Steve Austin winning in 1997, and just him not going on to face the champion, it didn't make any sense. 1998, absolutely perfect. It was the Austin era, as Jim Ross coined it. Absolutely perfect with everything with Austin, DX, Tyson. Not changing that. 1999. When you're the owner of the company, you can book yourself to win any match you want, and Vince McMahon booked himself to win the 1999 Royal Rumble match. Now, that match was chaos. Vince put a bounty on Stone Cold Steve Austin. He said anyone who eliminated Austin would get like $10,000 or something for eliminating Austin. And they fought all over the arena. They were trying to get rid of Austin. Vince was on commentary. He was trying to sneak his way to a win. And then of course The Rock came out, distracted Austin. That allowed Vince to dump him over the rope and win the match. Well, here's the thing about that. Now there is a way here where perhaps maybe Vince stays the winner of the Royal Rumble, and Austin challenges The Rock at St. Valentine's Day Massacre, wins the championship there, only to then go on to face McMahon at WrestleMania, where maybe we get the culmination of Austin McMahon. I mean, that's really the only way that I think this could have worked. Is if Austin somehow beat The Rock before WrestleMania for the title, and then at that point you would have to figure out, okay, what's The Rock going to do in that case? So instead, I'm just going to have Austin win this Rumble here. So I took away the 1997 Royal Rumble from him, but I'm giving him the 1999 Rumble here. 2000, that was The Rock. I'm sticking with that one here. The Rock was a perfect winner in this. I think, honestly, the only thing that I would change is the WrestleMania match, because I think that should have just been The Rock versus Triple H. And you still could have done the whole screw job angle where Vince turns on The Rock at the end anyway. So, yeah, The Rock wins the Rumble in 2000. 2001, absolutely perfect again. Stone Cold Steve Austin win his third and final Royal Rumble. Not changing that. 2002 was Triple H. Not changing that one either. I think the only thing that I would change is maybe instead of Chris Jericho, I would have had this be Kurt Angle. Maybe Kurt Angle is the one who wins at Vengeance 2001, and he takes that title into WrestleMania 18, and it's Triple H versus Kurt Angle instead of Triple H versus Jericho. And last but not least, 2003, Brock Lesnar won the match. I'm not changing that because Brock was a star on the rise at the time. So Brock Lesnar will keep his 2003 Royal Rumble win. So, what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. What Royal Rumble winners would you change from 1993 to 2003? Let me know in the comments below. And next week on the channel, we'll start this series again as we take a look at the 2004. Oh, that Royal Rumble.